Hello and welcome to Cadwell Park with the Lotus 23. Today's race is going to be a 30-minute race on a custom date of the 15th of June 2024. Again, seems to be a favourite date. Starting at 5 o'clock in the evening, real time, real weather. A rolling start, no pit stops, and a default progressing circuit. Our opponents will be a full maxed out grid of Lotus 23s on 120 skill level, which is the first time we've had to run it as high as that since 1.6 was released. A 0.76 wet skill scaler, which we are going to need. Medium aggression and standard mistakes. For rules and penalties, we've got 5 track limit warnings. We shouldn't need the pit lane speed limit because, well, if we see the pits, the race is over. And we shouldn't need the track limit warnings either because Cadwell's very loose on its track limits and you can abuse them quite heavily before. If you get a track limit warning at Cadwell Park, you're doing well. Right, we've got a 10-minute qualifying. I'll show you the results of that in just a moment. The qualifying was a wet and drying circuit, so the last lap literally was the best lap. Let's get into the results of that, and then from there, let's get to the race. Ooh, that's close. Run a bit deep. Just going to cover this left-hander off. Well, that kind of scuppered that, didn't it? That didn't work very well, did it? Back to fourth we go. I was quite tempted to go for a move then, but the last lap I struggled to get the car stopped. And I didn't want to do that and take somebody out. Easy. Oof. Too much welly, Andy. Teeny bit of contact there. Oh, no. Oof. Completely balls that up. Ooh. Can't get the car stopped into there at all like they can. Just feels like the front's going to lock up. See, I think we've actually got the pace here. But in key places. But I can't use that speed. We're on the medium fuel map, because I think that's where it races best and matches the AI best. I don't want to go to rich if I can help it. But I think then it gives us a bit of a slight advantage, which isn't fair. So I think where we are, you know, what we've got is fair, And I think that given a free circuit, we would be the fastest. But just don't seem to be able to get that space. Had to make absolutely sure of that. No. Ugh. So frustrating. It's all me though. It's like I hit the curb, I pitched the rear corner up, I got on the throttle too heavy. It's all me. I just need to sort myself out. Car is fine. The car is handling beautifully. I'm just driving tensely. It's not, yeah. In fact, I'm driving a bit like I was when I was driving the 2002 at Ibarra. Don't know if that was me or if that was the guy behind. I think it was me. Oh dear, come on Andrew, sort yourself out. Right, lap times now are low 53s. I've got that off, not having that happen again. They're very threatening. They're like worryingly threatening in the way that they move around behind you. But I think it's just because of how they're strong and weak on the circuit. I think they just sort of, they're very strong on the brakes and into the apex, and we're sort of better off in other key areas. It's sort of like the opposite, so it kind of shrinks and grows. To get on the inside, don't we? But we can't seem to. They got it covered on the exit of the fast double or triple right, coming onto that straight section. It's difficult to get to their inside, so then you're kind of committed to their outside, and then you end up in a bit of a nothing position, really. You have an advantage that you then can't use. My fault, sorry. Get that hand out the way. Yeah, I reckon I could probably sneak it up the inside here, but he's always sort of coming over to the right. Uh-oh, too fast in. Sort of. I've got it front and back. It's, yeah, just how I like it. Jesus, come on. I feel the rear tyres getting too hot as well. Yeah, it's a 15 degrees difference between the right side, front and rear tyres. It's far too much. It should be no more than 5, 6 in either direction. It's all a bit cosy, isn't it? Bloody hell, come on. So annoying, we'll be really quick, we can't use it. It's a brilliant race though, isn't it? Absolutely awesome. Oh, this would be beauty. Can we get up the inside of this one as well? Can we? Force our way up. Oh, that all happened perfectly, didn't it? Everything just fell into place there. They're not giving up, are they? Whoa. Come on. Jesus, they're quick out of there. Either I'm very crap there or they're very, very good. Come on. Good, 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 good. Right. Right. They're very good at here, but they're having a proper battle between each other now. I'm going to try and run away now. Why am I so crap in there? That's awful. Every lap. Get up there. So that's a 52.1 there. Just to give you an idea on lap times. I think the world record's 51.6, I think. They're right there. They haven't let me go. I'm fighting for this all the way to the end. So that's 51.7 on medium fuel. So yeah, we're on world record pace, which is that's how quick you got to be to beat this 120 AI. Every lap's got to be world record pace. Feels so good though. What a beautiful car. Oops, too much. $51,597. Happy days on medium fuel at the end of a 30-minute race. That is, I am happy with that. Just don't want to stack it now. Easy. Easy. Right. Okay, you got a bit of a gap. Use it. Right. Last lap. Come on. You can do this, Andrew. Aha! It's the best I got that all race, and it's the last lap. Fantastic. Oh, calm down, Andrew. Right. No one's taking it now, Andrew. Just take it easy. Oh, what a brilliant, heart-throbbing race that was. Oh, man, I am mentally buggered. What an amazing little car this is. You wouldn't think it to look at it, would you? You wouldn't think it. We'll get into the detail of what the car actually is in the summary. But, yeah. Oh, that's an absolute pleasure to drive. Right, let's have a quick look at the results. Just get a confirmation on that lap time. Right, let's skip the cool down lap. Here we go. So, we were first. 2.7 seconds ahead in the end. It's all very close behind, doesn't it? Excuse me. Yeah, so our best lap was a 51.597. I believe, I'll have to double check, but I believe the world record is a 51.6 something. But I'll get that on screen in the summary. Yeah, that's fantastic. What a brilliant, fantastic race. Right, I'm going to go and walk the dogs. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the summary after that. I need to relax a bit. But for you, I'll see you in just a second. What a fantastic race that was. Really, really intense from start to finish. Just, there was no let up at all. You had to be on it the whole way through. And what a fantastic little car this is to drive. Absolutely beautiful. And it's different to the 2002. So the 2002, you have to kind of set it up really, really early in the corner, and you have to be ahead of the game. With this, it's much more reactive. Your inputs are much closer to what actually happens, and it's just a really small, light car, and it feels like a small, light car. And I mean, full credit to Razor to make two completely different cars on roughly the same tyre feel the same but completely different. You know, to have that same characteristic coming through, but in a completely different way, to give you a feeling that makes perfect sense with the car you're driving. That takes a lot of effort. I can only imagine how many parameters there are to play with to achieve that. And yeah, full credit to them to achieve it, because they've done a cracking job with this little car and with the BMW as well. So my understanding is that this car started off life as an F2 car, and Colin Chapman put he adapted the F2 car to fit a body shell to it, and then had the driver sit offset so he could meet the Le Mans rules, so that you had to have a passenger essentially. So he took it to Le Mans, and the scrutineers there were awkward, to say the least. The general view was that they didn't want to have their French teams struggle against the might of the Colin Chapman Lotus. So they were notoriously awkward. They said, you've got to change this, you've got to change that. They said the windscreen was too small, for example, and then they said that oh yeah, because you've got to carry a spare tyre, but your front hubs have got 4 or 5 studs and the rears have got 6, you know, so your one spare can't change both front and rear, so you have to have 2 spares. So they then had to go away and fabricate hubs that matched for front and rear. And then they said, when they did that and they got them in the next day, they then said, well, yeah, but they haven't been tested, they can't be safe. So I think pretty much at that point, Colin Chapman told him to go and poke it, and then said, I'll never bring my cars here again to race in your race. And that's exactly what he did. He kept his word. A Lotus didn't race in the Le Mans 24 hours until after he passed away, from what I understand. So yeah, kind of sad, because it would have been nice to see what this car could have done over the race, but just wasn't meant to be, I suppose. But really glad we got it in the game. Really glad we got it in the game. It's absolutely beautiful to drive. Yeah, really enjoyed that one. I thought the AI strength, so it's on 120. It's the first time I've had to do that since coming back in 1.6. But historically, Cadwell Park has always been a bit of an outlier for that. And it's very difficult, especially through this section here, because the player can cut so much more of the corners, and the AI just doesn't do that. But the AI is strong in other areas of the circuit, and weaker in others, but it balances out in favour of the player just too much. I mean, the fact I was able to pull away at the end of the race, yeah, it's just not quite strong enough. So I think it could do with looking at for this particular circuit. But it's a sample set of one, so it's a little bit unfair to make a judgment. Probably needs a bit more further testing. As with everything, you know, you've got to test it. You've got to test it again. You've got to test it in this scenario. You've got to test it in that scenario, because otherwise, all you're doing is making a snap judgment call, and it's not. You can't really go to Razor with that, because it's not really enough to go on. You know, if you're gonna try and help them, you need to do the background work. You've got to try different things so you can rule certain things out, and just help them do some of the legwork, really, so that they can start off on the good foot rather than the back foot. The racing itself was amazing though, so even though we've got an overall strength compared to them in the last sector, I had to really think about my overtaking moves, and I had to be really careful with watching out for what the AI was doing behind me as well. And I haven't really had that much before. That's something which felt quite new. The AI was really quite... I never really felt in danger. There was a couple of times where I thought, oh, that was that was a bit close to the mark, but I never really felt in danger. But I did have to watch out for it, because the old surprise move, which happens in real life, it was it was there, and it was a threat the whole time. So yeah, and with the fuel being on medium mix as well, meant that I didn't have quite the straight line speed that they did. So it just made things just a little bit more difficult. I had to be a bit more calculating with how I went about it. We got a bit fortunate with the two cars in one corner, so coming through this right-hander here, when I got the lead, got quite... I don't know if it was lucky or if it was just fortunate, somewhere in the middle maybe, but everything sort of lined up and everything parted out just at the right time, and we started to fight for it all the way through. It was only really when we got to the top of the mountain was it resolved. So racing was great. I'd highly recommend it. It's not the same as racing a Mini around here. With the Mini, because it's front wheel drive, it's inherently really stable, and if you get in trouble, you kick the throttle on and the car straightens up. With this, you don't have that luxury, and you've got to be more mindful and careful, and you've got to race it with that in mind as well. So it's a different way to go racing, but it was really good fun, and I'm kind of thinking about jumping straight back in after this and doing it again, because it was really good. And if you haven't done it before, I'd highly recommend it, especially here at Cadwell, because it's just fantastic, brilliant circuit. One thing I had to be careful of was the rear tyre temps. So they were about 15 degrees hotter at the back, and that seems to be where they run. I've changed the setup, which we'll get to in just a moment, to try and alleviate that difference, to try and shrink that difference front to rear, or allow me to have that difference front to rear but push harder whilst it's there. It's I don't know if it's just how the car was. Historically, I don't know if that was what they had to deal with the real car. Or it might be maybe that it's got the same sort of thing as what I suspect the Audi GT4 has got, where maybe it's just got a bit too much weight on the rear of the car. Now, the real car had the ability to accommodate different engines, and I can't imagine Colin Chapman not having some sort of mechanism to adjust the weight distribution front to rear. So just for that one reason alone, I'd imagine he would have put something in place to allow them to get it where they wanted it to be. And it's a shame that we're not able to move that weight balance front to rear, because I think it would be a worthwhile test to see if we could get that evened out. But at the moment, it's outside of my reach in terms of what's available to me. So, you know, it's just a theory. But I would like to try putting a bit more weight on the front of the car, just make the front tyres work a little bit more, balance the suspension out a bit more, so that it's then coping with the rear and the front in more equal measure, rather than just trying to protect the rears. But either way, we'll get to the setup in just a moment and see what I've done to try and alleviate the problem. The grid was a full grid of Lotus 23s. The livery pack was one I quickly knocked up last night. So there are 4 livery slots for this car, and they've all got different numbers. They've all got a number each. And when I ran it the first time, there was like loads of number 47s, loads of number 51s, and I just thought this doesn't look quite right. So I thought I'd mix it up, and I'd have, you know, a red, a blue, a yellow, and a green one. But take the numbers off as well, and I think it sort of worked. It was a quick job, and it looks like a quick job, but I think it's had the effect I wanted. If I use the car more, I'll probably end up developing it a bit further. Of course, I chose the blue one. Got a soft spot for the historic Penske colours, so I had to go for the blue one. Right, I think that's pretty much it for the race itself. Next up, let's get into the setup of the car and what I changed to try and help those rear tyre temperatures. We'll see you in just a second. I nearly forgot the time trial time. So, I thought it was a 51.6. It's not, it's a 51.3. So, well done to Flippy. Whoever you are. Yeah, really good time that. I think with a fresh set of boots, high fuel level, it's doable. Yeah. But yeah, it's still that's a cracking time that. Yeah, ours was a 51.59, so nearest damn at a 51.6 really. So yeah, we've got 3/10 to find. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the setup. So with the setup, I've got images of the default setup on my phone here. So the changes, there's not many things we can change, but everything I've done is to try and help the rear tyre temperatures out really. So, but we'll kick off with the tyre pressure. So again, drop that down as low as I can get it. This vintage tyre seems to reward lower pressures, so that's what I'm using. The brake pressure stayed at 90. But my brake bias went rearwards 2% from 56 to 54 on the front. And that's it for this page. On the suspension, the caster angle was increased from 7 to 8. The front camber was reduced from 0 degrees to -2 degrees. The ride height stayed the same. I think the ride height's there, but I don't think you can actually change it. It's a weird one. It's one of those ones that's enabled, but you can't change. The spring rate stayed at 2, and the slow bump went from 1 to 2, so I've basically made the front damping a little bit stiffer. Yeah, just to try and smooth out the front end a little bit and make the front end work a bit harder, really. The rear camber went from -1 degrees to -0.5, just to try and help out, keep the rear tyres a bit flatter. The ride height stayed at 100. The spring rate was reduced from 2 to 1, and the slow bump stayed as 1. The steering lock was reduced from 26 degrees down to 18 degrees, and that was just to try and mean that my inputs were not so aggressive, so everything I was doing was basically smoothed out in the car, because a higher steering lock value basically means that for every degree you turn the steering wheel, the actual steering of the wheels is a little bit greater. So I've reduced that down, so I have to turn my steering wheel more to achieve the same amount of steering lock, which just helps smooth everything out a little bit. And then that means that the rear isn't being treated quite so aggressively. The toe in angle stayed as 0.1 degrees toe in. Front anti-roll bar stayed as 1. Rear toe in stayed as 0. So they weren't getting overheated on the outer edges by having it. If I'd have added toe in, then the outer edges would get a bit more heat, because it's basically scrubbing the outer edges a little bit. The anti-roll bar stayed as 1. And in the drivetrain, the fuel level was gone to 23 litres just because I've got to finish the race. And the fuel map was reduced from 1 to 0.95. That was just a personal choice, just to try and equalise my car with the AI a little bit closer. Everything else is, it's the same. So really the big changes are in here, and there's so little you can change that not much you can really do about it. But yeah, so that was the setup used for this race. Hope you find it helpful. Yeah, so thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, and until the next time, we'll see you later.